You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
To quote a famous Starfleet captain, time travel. Since my first day on the job as a Starfleet captain, I swore I'd never let myself get caught in one of these godforsaken paradoxes. The future is the past is the future. It all gives me a headache. Captain Catherine Janeway. It is 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and it's time for Mission Log Live. I'm Norman Lau.
And I'm Holly Amos. We're back to talk about the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery, Face the Strange. So you know what to do. Click the Zoom link or give us a call at 669-900-6833 because we want to hear from you. We want your opinions, we want your insights, and your burning questions. Again, click the Zoom link or give us a call, 669-900-6833.
And you never know on a live show what surprises are in store. So all of you might want to stick around for something special. I can't tell you what it is, or else I wouldn't be surprised. While you're hanging out, calling in, getting in line in the Earl Green room, let's say hi to everybody who's in chat tonight. How does your dad get into the first chat position every week?
My parents are both retired, so they're just, I don't know, queued up. Like
He is right up there. I'm going to have to set a clock to that for sure. Hey, Bob, great to see you. Hey, Brett, Mark, glad to have you here. Scott Palm, always a pleasure to see you. Bob is also very active in chat tonight. Look at him go. Did you share some of that delicious wine with him at one point?
Yeah, at Christmas time, I actually was like, I'm still on my Moscato kick, you guys. Mm-hmm. It's awful.
But you love it, so we love you for it. Right?
Okay. Yeah, at Christmas time, I was like, Mom, I'm on a kick. I would like to go get some Moscato. So we did, and my dad had a glass. They both liked it, but it's $7, okay? It's okay. Like, it's so cheap.
No judgment here, except for the rest of the chat. We have one of the Pauls here. We have two Pauls here. I think we have two Pauls here. Let's see. Dave Takechi, great to see you. Hello, Jane. Jane liked this episode. I think she said that in the chat.
Yeah.
Yep. I hope everyone, I don't know how people felt about it. I am excited to talk about it.
Yeah. I liked it. It was a nice, it was a good pause. It was a good, minor distraction from the main storyline, I think.
Well, we're going to get into it in a sec.
Yeah.
We have Heather here. We have Dave. We have Alan. Hello, Alan. Glad to have you here. Peter, Paul. I'm waiting for Mary to get into that order. Then I get Peter, Paul, and Mary, and I would be the happiest guy ever. I just dated myself. And three Pauls. So we have the Paul Fecta, which is always great. Carlos, so many friends, so many great, great supporters of the show. Speaking of all the shows that have their support, why don't you let everyone know, Holly, what's going on this week with Roddenberry podcasts?
Well, coming up this week on Mission Log, regular Mission Log, you guys are gonna cover Star Trek Voyager season 5. Well, your guys are in season 5, and you guys are gonna cover Night.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I helped a little bit.
You did.
I did.
You gave us some fantastic trivia bits.
Behind the scenes trivia bits that I found in the Roddenberry archive. But it gets really, really dark. But it's interesting. You guys should listen. Also tomorrow, April 23rd. Is tomorrow the 23rd? God, I don't even know what day it is.
It really
Mission Log Prodigy is back with Charlene Schmidt and our new co-host, Marina. I didn't know that she was going to be hosting.
She is. She is our new co-host for Star Trek Prodigy.
See, look, I learned. Log. That's exciting. They're going to do an interview with Dr. Erin McDonald. You all know. I hope you know Erin McDonald. She's fantastic. She made science so fun for the Prodigy kids. And to be honest, she made it fun for us too.
She really did.
Yeah. Please also check out all of the new shows at podcast.roddenberry.com, including our newest podcasts, Mission Log Genealogy, Trektivism, and Does It Fly? Please make sure you also like and subscribe to our content on youtube.com/Roddenberry Entertainment.
So there's a funny comment here from Chris Riker. Is this season 1 Norman or the actor who took over the role of Norman? Is it because of my glasses? Did I wear glasses in season 1? I'm not exactly sure what that
Norm
means.
not got new glasses, and the first thing he said to me when we logged on was that he has nerd glasses now.
I do. I've entered this phase of my life where I need progressive lenses so I can look at distances and reading at the same time. All I really need now is kind of like another pair of glasses, a la Elliot Gould style, and maybe a pocket protector or something
You
like
said they're
that.
transition lenses too, so they can be sunglasses.
They are.
It's
They
got all the
are.
bells and whistles,
Yes.
man.
Oh, and I splurged. I want to be that fashionable with my old man glasses. Anywho, lots of stuff going on with Mission Log, so make sure that you stay tuned in with us on YouTube and then obviously at podcast.roddenberry.com. I'm glad that you got caught a little bit by surprise. I didn't mean to, but I'm glad that you were able to announce Marina Kravchuk as our new co-host for Mission Log Prodigy. Shar and I are very excited about bringing Marina on, and we can't wait for you guys to hear Erin McDonald's interview because she is fantastic. Stick around, folks. We have a lot of show ahead of you, and we're going to jump right into the recap of Star Trek Discovery, Season 5, Episode 4, Face the Strange. Previously on Trill, La'ak and Maul executed a clever plan against a shady weapons dealer, securing their next move in pursuit of the progenitor's technology. That move was to plant a tiny bug-like device onto Adira on Trill, who then unknowingly brought it aboard Discovery, where it now instantly wreaks havoc on the ship. And while Burnham and Raynor are engaged in a conversation about how to best approach crew morale, they both soon realize that they've been thrust back in time and are following a mysterious entity through a wormhole to the future. Raynor finds the time travel situation confusing, but Burnham's familiarity with Discovery's timeline helps her theorize that just she and Raynor are caught in a time loop. Raynor suggests that Discovery has been infected by a time bug, illegal Krenim temporal war technology somehow planted by Maul and La'ak. Burnham and Raynor need Stamets' unique temporal perspective due to his tardigrade DNA. Despite the challenges, they manage to move through various critical moments in Discovery's history. In a pivotal jump, they encounter a decades-deserted Discovery and Zora, the ship's AI, who reveals they've jumped almost 30 years into the future, where the progenitor technology has led to the end of the Federation by the Breen. With Zora's help, they realize the cyclical nature of their journey through space and time. Elsewhere, or else when, Stamets is stuck in his own loop and is also trying to neutralize the time bug. Burnham and Raynor collaborate with Stamets to gather the necessary components for a chronoton stabilizer, facing challenges and encountering unexpected allies along the way, such as Reno and Book. With the chronoton stabilizer assembled, they are ready to destroy the time bug and end the temporal loop, but it has a built-in defense that will delay them once again and force them to suffer another jump. This time, Burnham confronts her past self, urging her to trust in her journey to becoming captain. Stamets and Raynor face technical challenges and emotional tensions as they race against time. On the bridge, Burnham convinces the still-living Arium and her old crew of her true identity and the urgency of their mission. However, their progress is threatened when past Burnham intervenes, adding another layer of complexity to their already precarious situation. As Detmer confirms the readiness to break the warp bubble, Arium expresses fascination with the future technology, reflecting on her limited time to learn more about it. Burnham and past Burnham clash over the decision to shut down the warp core, but Raynor steps in, appealing to past Burnham's personal struggles and urging her to trust her instincts. With moments to spare, Detmer executes the maneuver, violently shaking the ship, but successfully breaking the time loop. Back in the present, the crew realizes only 6 hours have passed and their actions haven't altered the timeline. Burnham and Raynor reflect on the trust and camaraderie among the crew, acknowledging their personal growth and the effectiveness of their teamwork. Meanwhile, Stamets removes the remnants of the time bug, and the crew begins to process the 6 hours that were lost. La'ak and Maul have taken the lead in this chase, but Discovery's crew remains determined to find the progenitor's technology first, before the future that Burnham and Raynor saw comes to pass. The end.
Yeah.
That was a very, very dense episode to break down. There's so much going on in this episode.
Well, it's a time travel episode, so it's going to be complicated. I feel like that's a given.
I'm not like the biggest movie buff, and we're going to jump into our notes now before we get some of the callers here, but changes. Did you get the Time to Face the Strange reference?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
That's not the song that when I was watching it, that's not the song that popped into my head, though.
No?
Beastie Boys Sabotage did.
Oh, Sabotage. Yes. Love
Yeah,
it.
they sabotaged the ship.
Also, that's very traditional Star Trek now. At least,
It is. It's,
Kelvin era Star Trek, for
yes,
sure.
it's Kelvin era
Yeah.
Star Trek.
I knew several Rayner type managers when I was working. The guys were just like, if you work as hard as I do, we'll all be okay. Right? I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that really works out for anybody, but okay, sure.
He's an interesting character. I still don't know if I trust him. But I do appreciate that he is developing. And this was honestly the end of this episode. It was obvious that this was sort of a continuation of the message from the last episode, because they did use their connections with their past selves to get them to trust them. And I mean, they even talk about it in the Ready Room when they finally break the time loop. And he's like, it's not lost on me that we were able to get those people to trust us because you know so much about them. To some extent, he used his knowledge of them too, but I said, you should have learned more about them, Rayner. That was one of my notes, because it would have been easier if he had spent more than 20 seconds with everybody.
Okay, I have a request for all of you designers out there. I want this on a t-shirt. Fail to prepare to fail, son.
I hate that saying.
I love that scene.
Well,
It's
Rayner
so
hates
funny.
it.
He does, but I think it's so funny. Okay, so here's some really deep cut like pop culture fandom that they weaved into this episode. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. You probably did. So did Reno order a Vesper martini because sometime when the writers were creating this script and then casting Callan Keith Rennie as Rayner, they saw a similarity to Daniel Craig's James Bond?
I don't know.
So because the Vesper martini is the martini that he orders in Casino Royale and makes it up on the spot. So
I mean, I wouldn't put it past any of the writers to be fans.
just
of
throwing
Bond.
that out there. I'm pretty sure that there's some
I
kind
didn't
of
even pick
coincidence
up on
there.
that, and I'm a Bond fan, so that was a good
Yeah.
pickup.
Also, in the same scene, weren't bucketheads also slang for Cylons in the new Battlestar Galactica, also starring Callan Keith Rennie?
Yes,
All right,
that
so
one I do know.
they're giving him some some deep cut props there. I have a couple of one more. Okay, so maybe I've been just too steeped in pop culture, but when Stamets told Rayner not to pull the time bug out and then explained away like how everything would be like pulled apart, like molecule by molecule, like ad infinitum, didn't that sound like the Crossing the Streams quote from Ghostbusters?
Yes. I noticed that too, because I'm a really big Ghostbusters fan. But the other thing that crossed my mind, but I was also like, would that be a reference? How else are you going to describe that if not the way that Ghostbusters described it?
I know.
Don't cross the streams.
Right. And Rayner says something to the tune of like, okay, that's bad. Just like Venkman. So yeah, good pop culture stuff there, folks.
I looked at the trap, Ray. I love Ghostbusters. I just rewatched all of them so that I could watch the fourth one. So
what other highlights would you like to talk about before we get into our callers here?
I mean, I love that we finally have some more insight to Calypso, because Calypso was completely out of left field and they've not really mentioned anything about it since. So now we know. And quite frankly, it's impressive that it seems like they were planning that all along. So good on the writers. Yeah,
they're tying up a lot of loose ends, I think.
Well, I mean, they have to. This is the last season. And I was very concerned that Calypso was just going to be this like one-off forever, that we never got any explanation. So it's great that it's tied in, and now we sort of know what happened, and now they just need to figure out how to stop that from coming to fruition.
Well, I mean, we're not having, there's no shortage of like topics to talk about with this one, because I think it was a very fast paced, I think it was like well executed and very snappy, but let's see what the listeners have to say. So we have on deck, we have Mark. Welcome back, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Norman. And yourself?
I'm doing good, thank you. What's on your mind tonight?
Two things. I just wanted to first speak to how this episode does a really good job of tying in the whole time travel aspects of like all of classic Star Trek. You know, you have the time traveling of a time loop a la TNG's one where they meet more keep hitting into the Reliant class. You have that staple time loop they're trapped in, and then you have a whole bunch of other ones. And I thought that was a really neat approach to be able to uh, do that, of where they reference, and it was mentioned in the chat, but they have the Kremen tech as well, which ties into Star
Yeah.
Trek Online and
Mhm.
Voyager, the of Year of Hell. So that was really cool. But the big thing that I actually watched this episode this time, but the big thing that spoke to me was then they were talking about complacency, repetition, other things, and that really spoke to me of the dangers of it, but how people find it as a comfort, because as an individual with autism, that is something of where I get into things like that, and that really spoke to me a lot of. How it's important to have that protection and other things, but get away with it, and taking big leaps out of your comfort zone. And I think the episode really speaks to that, of how him getting put to first officer, and then this time loop thing is something he's not used to. And that I saw a lot of parallels into that of my life, of where I've gotten out of my comfort zone occasionally, and then made into jump, of where I've gone on to do something, uh, like join a fan group or do my masters and things like that. And that just really think they really nailed that really well in the show. And that's what I wanted to say.
That's a great observation. I mean, we've referenced before that Discovery is not just a title, but it's just kind of like the how it's applied, to all of the characters and what they're discovering about themselves, whether it's courage or whether it's growth. Or, I mean, for Rayner right now, and we saw him snap at Reese, earlier, and he's trying, but he's like old war dog, like he's mentioned before a couple times. So it's hard it's like when I used to work with outside sales. I mean, these guys, they're road weary, and they have to put up, the most amount of, BS, with vendors and, people that they work with. And they're calloused, they're calloused people, even if they're great people, underneath all of that. So it's hard for them to kind of like shed that a little bit. I don't know, Holly, how did you take Rayner in this episode?
I mean, I like that he softens at the end, because he actually didn't he tell Reese he told Reese that he did a good job. So like clearly we're getting enough development and emotional insight into him that his walls are sort of being broken down by this new crew. I also appreciate that for the most part, the crew, while they might be, especially Tilly, annoyed by the way that he is presenting himself and conducting himself, they're all still determined to get to a point where they all get along, and they're all of them are trying to understand each other, which I also appreciate. It's not just that they're butting heads.
Now, and this is a question for you both, and then question for the chat also. When you saw the time jumps and you saw like the different eras of Discovery, the uniforms and the ship and the older crew, did you feel like that was fan service, or did you feel that that was well earned?
I think that's well earned, and I think that they also use that in a really clever way with Stamets, because Stamets' clothes are changing because he's so timey-wimey. Rayner and Burnham are physically caught in it, so they're in their normal uniforms.
Right.
But Stamets is changing uniforms because he's the same as the rest of the crew. That's him in that time period, but it's his DNA that's removing him from it.
Right.
And it was something that I noticed. I was like, wait, why is they're staying the same, but his is changing with everybody else? And I was like, because it's different for him. It's his DNA. For them, they're physically stuck.
Yeah. Now, I thought it was actually really smart.
yeah, I think that it was a clever way to articulate that those three are experiencing the same thing, but for different reasons.
Right. Yeah. And it's also part of the Star Trek tradition to have a transporter malfunction kind of initiate this entire dynamic. So, of course,
I thought that too. I was like, oh no, the transporter is going to mess everything up again. Fantastic.
It is. All right, Mark, we have you just for a little bit here. So one last thought before you go.
You asked me the question, so I just wanted to respond to that quickly. I agree. I think it was really well done. And in this case, Simmons gets to stand in for Data, but instead of writing in the thing into his little positronic brain, so when it goes back in time, he remembers it from that episode. Instead, it's his DNA that helps him do it. So I think that was a really neat nod to how to problem solve when you have three people in a stable time loop. It reminds me of the really good Stargate episode of where they're stuck in the stable time loop, but it's just Jack and Teal'c, and so they're the only two remembering it. And
right.
From season 4, and how they did a really good job of that. And I think they borrowed some really good things with from that as well as Star Trek for this episode. And I think it as a result, it shines of a callback to the previous seasons of all the previous seasons and the past uniforms, as well as being able to have and tell your future self, your past self, that your future self's going to be all right. And I think that's, sometimes we all need a little bit of seeing what our future self tell us that. And I think that, really that spoke to me as well for this episode.
That's awesome, Mark. Well, thanks for calling in. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us, and looking forward to having you back for the next episode. All righty. We have Chris. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Yeah. I, by contractual obligation, do have my Vesper Martini.
Oh, well done, sir. Right, so you're a fan of that nod. You got that, right?
That was good. Yeah. I had to go out and buy some Lillet Blanc to do this, but it's okay. We're here. We're having a good time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You got to make do. Besides, I mean, 007, he made that up on the fly anyway. So.
Exactly. But no, I like this week. It's fun. I like seeing Raynor kind of grow out of his shell, because I do truly believe that there is, it's a cliche, but a heart of gold in there somewhere. Yeah, he's grumpy and whatever, but he clearly, or it would seem that he cared about his last crew based on the way he talks, and so I would assume that he would, given the opportunity, come to care about the people on Discovery. And so I thought this was a fun exercise in sort of walking him along that path. I would have liked a couple cameos. I get there's probably scheduling things. I would have liked to see Jason back. I would have liked to see Reka back, but that's just the business. But no, this was a good week. I enjoyed it. It was good times.
Well, it's going to get even better, Chris, because I want to have you hold that thought and stay on the line with us, because like I said before, folks, at the beginning of the show, live shows, there are always surprises. And well, I am so happy to introduce a surprise for all of you in chat and for us here too in the booth, because we have honored guests that are visiting Mission Log Live tonight. We have Armin Shimmerman and Kitty Swink, who are coming in to talk to us and tell us about PanCan Purple Stride. So please welcome everyone, Armin Shimmerman and Kitty Swink, to Mission Log Live. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
How are you?
Very good. Nice to be here. Thank you for having us.
No, thank you for being here. It's a great honor for you to be able to share this fantastic this program and the fundraiser that you're doing for PanCan Purple Stride. So I know that there's a lot of things that you would like to tell the listeners about this event that's happening this weekend.
Sure, absolutely. It happens on the 27th in 60 cities around the country. What is it? It's called Purple Stride. And Purple Stride is the primary fundraiser for an organization called the PanCan Action Network.
Pancreatic Cancer Action Network.
Sorry, Pancreatic Cancer. We abbreviated PanCan so often that I forgot. Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. And it's a fundraiser to raise money for researchers, to help people who are diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and to figure out ways to make the survivability rate higher. I'm sitting next to a survivor. She had pancreatic cancer about 20 years ago. At that time, it was a 3 to 4% survival rate. Thanks to the organization PanCAN, Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, we have raised that survival rate to 13. It is our hope that by 2030, we'll have it up to 30. Still not good enough, but you can see exponentially higher than when Kitty was diagnosed. Kitty, do you want to tell them a little about your pancreatic cancer?
So you guys probably all remember Cecily Adams, who played Moogie.
Mhm.
God rest her soul. So she was in the hospital with lung cancer, and I had been losing weight and I had lower back pain, but I always have lower back pain because I'm a dumb jock. And I couldn't figure out why I was losing weight, and I kind of had acid reflux, and I was visiting Cess, and her childhood nanny was there, and she said, I don't think you should be worrying about Cecily. I think you should be worrying about you. And I came home and I said that to Armin, and Armin said, yeah, I think she's probably right. And I called my doctor. It was on a Thursday. They said, we'll get you in a couple of weeks. The next morning they called and they said, miracle of miracles, we can get you in. My doctor said, well, you probably have acid reflux. You're under a lot of stress, but let's just take some blood tests. Over the weekend, my urine turned brown. And on Monday, we were at a funeral for a friend of our son. It was really not a good week. And when we got home, there was a message saying, you have to go to the hospital right now. Your kidneys and your liver are shutting down. And 17 days later, I came out of Cedars-Sinai with half a stomach, half a pancreas, no gallbladder. I was missing a couple of feet of intestines and 28 lymph nodes. And I am so lucky to be here today. And so it's my job in the world to give people hope that you can survive this disease.
And we, who's not here, is our co-captains who've all been affected by pancreatic cancer. Jonathan Frakes lost his brother. John Billingsley lost his mother. Juan Carlos Cotto lost his brother, Manny Cotto, who was very important to the Star Trek franchise.
Yeah.
And there are many other people who have been affected by the disease. And the important thing to know is that, yes, we're here for pancreatic cancer, but the research into cancer affects all cancers.
Yep.
And what we're doing for pancreatic cancer will indeed probably lead to some improvements in other cancers as well.
Yeah. There's some exciting breakthroughs happening right now, but it's not fast enough. And the other thing is we want to make sure people get an early diagnosis. The things that tell you have pancreatic cancer are also the things that tell you that you're stressed out. They're also the things that tell you you've probably been at the gym too much. They're also, it's that kind of stuff. And so there's no quick test. One of the things we're working on very hard at PanCAN is that. But more importantly, the reason why when they came to me and said, will you speak for us? I said, let me talk to my husband. I think we have an opportunity with Star Trek. Is we're here because Star Trek fans believe in the future, they believe in hope, they believe in science. I can't think of a better group of people in the world to help us. And so that's why we have formed Team Trek against pancreatic cancer.
And the people who have been following us for years have been enormously generous. We set a very high bar for our personal team collection, and we smashed through that bar about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we still have a couple of days left. So
wait, and we have a huge thanks to the Roddenberry Foundation.
Yes, absolutely, who absolutely helped in making us achieve our goals. But it's not just the foundation; it's also the individual givers who've been kind and generous and supportive. And we hope that no one is affected by this disease. But should that happen, should you, a friend, a relative, an associate, a business associate, if anyone is diagnosed with this disease, please call PanCAN immediately. They have enormous amount of resources that can help a great deal, and help you get through what might be an impossible diagnosis.
Yep, and not just for you, but for your family and for your friends. It's patient and family services. It's extraordinary.
Thank you, Armin and Kitty, for that. Thank you, Kitty, for sharing your journey with that. I have some information that I read from your website here for all of the listeners. So the event is going to be April 27th, this Saturday. The event village opens at 8 a.m. at Santa Monica Pier, the West Hat Pier.
And that's just one of the 60 cities around the country. There are 60 cities all participating in Purple Stride. So there's
Okay.
probably a march somewhere near everybody.
Yep.
If you go to the website, you'll be
Right.
able to find a location or a button saying like where your event is going to take place. I was just reading it for the California area because that's what
Nice. Yeah.
I looked up first. I love the number that I got before I got on the show here. So it was your team trek against pancreatic cancer has raised at the time that I looked 149,500 of your goal of 125,000. So you're already way over your goal, and I hope it continues to grow. And there's a wonderful quote, Kitty, like you mentioned it just briefly, but no one believes in science and hope for the future more than Star Trek fans. And we invite everyone who would like to be a part of our Purple Stride Los Angeles team to join us. Together, we can get the pancreatic cancer survival rate way beyond 12%. So
It's at 13, actually. It's every point counts.
Yep.
Because we're talking about people.
I mean, the website, I'm sure that the data is always changing. And
Yes, it is.
I encourage everybody to go to the website. Earl has put that up on the screen in the
Earl.
chat. And would you like to remind us all again where they can follow both of you to make sure that they're up on all the event data?
Sure. It's not just us. As I mentioned, we've got some captains, and it's not just the actors from the franchise. It's also lots of supportive groups around the country who have become supportive groups as well
Right.
for the 5 or 6 captains that we represent. But should anyone want more information, they should go to www.purplestride.org. And if you're looking for our team, it's /Team Trek. So www.purplestride.org/Team Trek.
Or find any of us on our social media sites, because we'd love to hear from you, and we'll answer back and say, yeah, man, thank you.
And if you are in the Los Angeles area, please come to Santa Monica this Saturday and join us. John Billingsley has suggested that everybody who comes will get a piggyback for Jonathan Frakes. I don't envy his back.
Oh, I see. So Billingsley offered Frakes' back.
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
Absolutely,
of course.
because
That's
what Billingsley does.
That's so on brand for Billingsley. So.
Yes, he wants to be the first. He wants to be the first writer, you should say. And Jonathan thinks he's going to need a chiropractor. So if anybody's a chiropractor and wants to come on.
Oh, my chiropractor is a Star Trek fan.
It's also a beautiful walk. I walked in Kansas City several years ago, and that was a beautiful walk. There are thousands of people who are out to support not only the fundraising, but also to be there for their family and friends and coworkers. It is an event unlike any other. It is so heartwarming. It is so loving. It is so beautiful. And in our case, we're walking along the ocean as well. So that's incredible.
It's physically beautiful as well as emotionally beautiful. Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful cause. I think everyone should go out there if you have time and the opportunity, or donate on the site. Armin, you and I have talked before in an interview in the past, and I know that you've also expressed your passion to help, continue to reduce, to increase the survival rate. And obviously, this is very important to the both of you. Kitty, this is the first time that you and I have spoken, so it's a pleasure to meet you. And again, we are very honored for you to share your journey with us and to bring the awareness for anyone. I mean, is there an age range that people should be thinking about when in terms of symptoms?
It used to be an age range, but it has sadly gotten wider and wider. We just spoke to a friend of ours recently who was an actor you'd know, who had a young mentee who was 32 who's been diagnosed. So we want to change that. We want to make that. Here's some things to look for, though. Does it run in your family? Do you have back pain? Do you have acid reflux and it runs in your family? Are you diabetic all of a sudden?
Yes, sudden onset diabetes is sometimes a hint.
Yep, that's a big hint. Are you turning yellow? Big hint. All things to worry about. There are certain groups of people that have a higher rate of mortality. Sadly, African Americans have a higher rate of mortality. People with a BRCA mutation. So if your family if you have a lot of breast cancer in your family and somebody has a BRCA mutation, get yourself checked out.
And if you have it in your family, absolutely, even if you have no symptoms whatsoever, please be checked. because it's more than likely there's a 10% chance that it will run in you as well. If someone in your family has it, get checked. Because, excuse me, sweetie, because if you find it early, you have a better chance of survival.
My emotional it's the first night of Passover, and the Irish girl's about to say my emotional bubby was a woman named Charlotte Ray, who, if you guys were sitcom fans, she was the den mother on Facts of Life. And Charlotte got it in her 80s and survived it. But the thing about Charlotte is it got so many members of her family. Her sister got it while she was still in treatment. She had several other members of her family who had it. So if it runs in your family, make sure you are aware and that your doctor is aware.
And should you be diagnosed with it, and God forbid that happens, but should you be diagnosed and you're not happy with your doctor, please call PanCan. They will recommend a second opinion. They will send you to a doctor in your vicinity that will know perhaps a little bit more than your original doctor.
The thing about cancer is there's a lot of really good cancer doctors in the world. There's a lot of great ones. But my oncologist specialized in pancreatic cancer, and that makes a difference. You want somebody who specializes in this particular disease.
I'm glad that you brought up Mrs. Garrett.
You can be good at acting, but you can be really good at science fiction. And if you're really good at science fiction, then you know where to go.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would bring up Mrs. Garrett's name in a Star Trek podcast.
Well, there you have it. She is one of the reasons, if not the reason, that Kitty and I and everyone else is here, because thanks to Charlotte and her work with PanCan, Kitty was brought into it, and she brought the rest of us.
And today would have been her birthday, so
your
birthday,
happy birthday, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell our audience before we have to let you go?
Yes. Thank you. We'd like to say thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you to you guys, and thank you to the audience.
And in a different context, or perhaps the same, please live long and prosper.
Okay. Thank you, Armin. Thank you, Kitty. Thank you for being on the show with us and sharing all this information. I'm sure that that turnout's going to be spectacular, and we give you all the love and support in the world for this fantastic cause and the work that you're putting towards it. So thank you so much for being here.
And thank you for helping us tell everybody about this.
Yeah.
It's really important.
It's our pleasure and it's our honor. Thank you so much. And please,
Thanks,
if you'd
guys.
like to hang out, stick around. We still have a lot of callers to talk to. So, but I know that you're very busy and you're probably getting ready for the weekend.
It's a little crazy.
Yeah. All right. Thanks
Have a
so
nice
much
night, you
for
guys.
being here. And again, thank you for sharing all this information with us. All right. Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, Chris. Now, you want to follow that up, or should we go into the mid-show break?
I got one more thing, and then we can. So, Holly, you thought that was a Calypso tie-in. I don't know about that. Like,
No?
I see where you're coming from. I'm not gonna disregard your take on that. But to me, if I wanted a Calypso tie-in, I wanted something maybe a little closer to Calypso. Like, this is just this is the bad ending of this season, right? If they were going to do a Calypso thing, I was hoping they would maybe jump closer to the actual short track. But that's just me. That was my thing. Yeah.
Well, we'll see how they tie up all the bows if they manage to do that.
Any last thoughts there then, Chris, before we have to let you go?
Not really. I mean, I'll just say cheers,
Wow,
have a good night.
wasn't that full when we got on?
It was full. Calling me out, Norm.
All right. No, it's, we had such a wonderful celebrity kind of break that was going on there. And I'm sure that you were just enjoying it as you were listening to some of that incredible information that Kitty and Armin were sharing with us. So
Exactly.
I'm not clocking you at all.
No, that was really great. Really great to have them on. Always to hear them talk about that. It's really wonderful. But yeah, this was a good episode. I'm really enjoying the final season. I hope to continue to keep enjoying the final season. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week probably.
All right, Chris. I hope that someone mentions another cocktail for you in the next episode. We'll see what you come up with. All right.
All right. See you guys.
Do you think they're going to mention Moscato?
I don't know, but if they do,
Never. Sugar
right.
water. Is that somebody keeps saying in the chat that it's sugar water, and they're not wrong.
but it's also good sugar water. All right. So as we do with all of our live shows, we take a little bit of time here just to let you know what's happening with not just Patreon, but our Discord server and what our members are up to, especially. So what's happening with Patreon and Discord, Holly?
Sundays, Matthew Comagis, he's hosting Now Voyager, which is our international chat discussing the most recent mission log podcast, but it's at a friendlier time slot for people that are not in the time zones here in the States. Also new on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern is our newest live chat, Bondatory.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the James Bond chat, where we will be discussing the Bond film franchise in order, starting with Dr. No. Thanks to new Discord member Mark for hosting this new chat. I'm excited for that one because I'm a Bond fan, but I'm clearly not big enough because I didn't recognize the drink. Heather Barker is also hosting Disco on the Discord, which is our weekly chat covering the most recent Discovery episode every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Also Wednesdays at 10 p.m. we have Kontiki, which is our conventions and meetup live chat hosted with one of our Paul Harveth.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we have our flagship live chat, Mission Log After Dark, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, discussing the most recent Mission Log podcast drop. And to close out the week, we have Zocalo, which is our Friday night live chat about Babylon 5, and many of the group are watching it for the first time. This is all made possible by our fantastic supporters, and just like them, if you would like to participate in these live chats and get access to all the content on Mission Log Patreon, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/missionlog.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of live chats. So yeah, and a lot of them are hosted and created by our members. So Mark he was just on the show and he wanted to talk about James Bond, and we talk about James Bond, not just the films, but we do that in Epicureanism, where we talk about food. We have a chat called Horology, where we talk about watches and spy gear and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot going on there. So give us a look. Give us a look if you want. One thing that I did want to say, though, before Kitty and Armin took off, there's a great blurb about what's going on this weekend on the website. So PanCan Purple Stride Los Angeles 2024 is back and takes place in cities all over the country, which means anyone can participate from anywhere. Sign up today and start helping fund pancreatic cancer research and PanCan's free programs and that support services and patients and their families. So again, if you're out there and you want to find where your event is taking place, I believe this weekend, you can go to their website and then find a locator so that you can participate or donate and help that cause. So very passionate, those two, about that. And it's very moving what Kitty shared with us. We still have a couple more callers to get to before we, wow, we're running out of time so quickly. So we're going to get to our next caller. We have Nani. Hi, Nani. Welcome back.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you.
I love the dark side of the Starfleet moon shirt. Isn't that, that's a Will Wheaton's, right?
It is. It is. It's Nani, not Nami, Earl. You spelled my name wrong. That's okay. With the nod to David Bowie, it was making me think of, older music. So then I pulled out this shirt. So yeah. Thank you, Earl.
There we go. I was like, he's going to fix it immediately.
That's why I mentioned it, because he's great. I'm a little off kilter now. I got a little distracted there with our special guest.
I know it's exciting, isn't it?
It was. I have to admit, I sent a very quick text to my kid going, "I'm in the Zoom room with Quark right now," because that was my kid loves Deep Space Nine, so I kind of had to share that at that moment. And then I was thinking about my friend of the family, my Uncle Howie, who passed away during the pandemic, but not from the pandemic, from pancreatic cancer. So it, a little distracted.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. He saved my dad's life. He was a cardiologist. So he saved my dad's life back in 1992. So it was we were sad when Uncle Howie passed, for sure.
So seeing Quark like in the flesh with his wife, is that the first time that you've ever just been in a room like with behind the scenes with a celebrity from Star Trek?
Yeah, I guess behind the scenes, yeah, that would be the case. I mean, I've been lucky enough to have, Rod show up to my class,
Mhm.
but and that one in person. But that was the first time where something like that happened. I've, met a couple of people at conventions or something, but that was first time like that. So it took me by surprise, and was not at all surprised when they jumped the line. I was like, no, that's how it should be.
Yeah. They got the velvet rope access. What can I say?
Yeah,
All right. So, Face the Strange. What'd you think about the episode?
Well, I mean, there was definitely the theme of change everywhere, and
Mhm.
just even from the song, right? And um, one thing it made me think a lot about this, how Rayner's struggling so much, right, with the way the new crew works compared to how he's used to doing things. And I think it was last week when he was telling Tilly that there was like a difference between leadership and friendship or something like that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I was like, but there's something called empathy, which is where you can be friendly without having to be friends exactly. And that's, I think, the part that they're trying to teach him on there, at least at this stage where he isn't learning how to exactly connect with everybody yet.
Yeah.
And then there was a line, which people say all the time, that change is hard. And I know that change, especially if you're like neurodiverse, change can be insanely hard. And I get that. But not all change is hard. It's just that stuff that's easy, we don't have difficulty changing because it's easy. And so it's not that all change is hard. It's just that if it were easy, we would have changed already, I guess, is the way I look at it when I'm teaching the adjustment class and trying to get them to figure out how to, improve some characteristic for themselves.
Well, comfort zone it's called comfort zone for a reason.
Right. Yeah.
It's not danger zone, right?
Definitely.
Nope.
Definitely.
I mean, you got to love. I think that highway to the comfort zone is probably a little bit easier sell. Right?
Yeah. For sure.
That's called the couch.
Yes.
Yeah. No, Rayner's a really interesting study because at first you can see him being kind of like a Liam Shaw, but he's not. He admits to to Burnham, and then later, he drops these hints to being an old war dog. He's battle hardened. And you weren't there for the burn. You weren't there for all of these changes. You weren't there when Starfleet was in ruins. I was there. I did 7 red direct. Like all this stuff. And this guy, like I mentioned before, this guy is just one big callus of a man. I think that there was, at one point in time, and an optimistic, hopeful Starfleet cadet turned officer, turned wartime captain, and he saw too much of that. He saw too much of what Starfleet wasn't, and not what it was. And I think that that's what Burnham's trying to, at least, try and access in him. It's not going to happen overnight, but he's trying. I don't think he wants to be a bad guy. He just doesn't know how to be a good guy. And I think there's a difference.
No, I completely agree. And I think in some ways it's almost, job burnout, right? It's just he has been stuck in this, in the hard part of what he's been doing for the last however many decades. And I have a lot of friends who are going through that, and it's just, it's tough, and it helps when you can remember the good things. And I think that's what Michael is trying to help him understand, is that, if you can make these connections with people and you realize it's maybe, that actually can end up being a source of strength for people, and just the relationships with the rest of the crew, which I get is not, everybody's way to lead, or to, in my case, teach, right? Not everyone's going to be friendly, but, I have very few students who end up like actually social media friends with me. I try to, especially while they're current students, there has to be a certain distance because I literally have to grade them, but it's kind of interesting that my students still all know how much I care about them. And it's because I do show that empathy, that interest in them and wanting to know, like, did you get your driver's license? With my early college, high school students, and different things like that. Because I remember what they say, and it probably isn't as hard as Rainer thinks it is, but he's
I
playing
think he's. I
stubborn
think
old guy
he
really well.
he just needs to learn how to set boundaries, because boundaries are not necessarily meant to be like mean. You can still be empathetic and caring and have boundaries set up as someone who is they're subordinates of his. So I think I hopefully he learns that. I feel like he's starting to learn that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think everyone's going to end up loving him by the end of the season.
I
Just
just
'cause, I
hope
mean, I know.
they don't pull a Shaw on us again.
They can
I'm
do
like,
whatever
come
they
on.
want. They could. No.
They could.
It's their final season.
That's
Let
true.
them do what they. Yeah.
No. All righty. Nami, we have one last thought from you. And
I hope you come to class on Wednesday, Norm. It's okay if you can't. It's okay if you can't.
I
just thought I'd throw that out.
am trying to find an opening for us, so please keep that invitation open, because I really do want to be there. All right, but I do appreciate you always asking, for sure. Okay, mahalo.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Alan is up. How come you don't never send me an Alan Moraine, when you sign in? You always send John an Alan Moraine. You never send me an Alan Moraine.
Is that me? I thought I did not know that was my
Was that
thing.
you?
No,
Who's Alan Moraine? Who does
that
Alan
might
Moraine?
Is that BC?
Oh, it is BC. I keep thinking Alan Moraine.
Ah, well, there you
Yeah.
go. It's that subconscious association.
Well, maybe
See,
BC should be on right now, giving me grief for not getting it right.
you flunked the 20-second job interview, Norm. Come on.
It's not the first time.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
all right.
All right. So, changes, huh?
Yep.
You're a
Yep,
music guy. You probably got that real quick.
Yeah. Do you want to? Do you just want to get into it?
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
You talk about surprises now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I saw the title to the episode and the wheels started turning. So might as well just jump right into it.
Spin those wheels.
Bum 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 bum. Still no clue for what we're searching for. Now this time bug keeps us stuck. A bunch of scenes repeat, and every time I thought we'd had it fixed, seems Maul and Locke have got us beat. Michael spurns her doppelganger, 'cause she's never fought a twin. And the others see a lawbreaker. They know her past is not the best. Rainer Burnham face the strange Rainer. They can't just beam up and out of it. Rainer Burnham face the strange Rainer. Our fleets in flames, we're gonna be up to our necks in it. Time may break me. I can't trace time.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, man, this is the best.
Thank you.
Well done,
thank you.
sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. Come
I
on
love
out there.
that song too. So
let's see some scores out there.
Oh, boy.
Is that someone going to give him a golden ticket or not? Right? I thought that performance was quite good. So yeah, let's do this. All right.
But yeah, so yeah, that kind of sums up a lot of my thoughts. But what else do we got to talk about here? Hey, Ariam got her hero moment.
Yeah. That was kind of.
I never thought that we would see Ariam again, so that was exciting.
Yeah. It's in a lot of ways it was kind of like, I think I've seen this in other places too, but it's weirdly serendipitous that this episode falls in what has turned out to be the final season, because it kind of feels like one of those, hey, let's go back and sort of, look back at some of our history as a show and see what we can maybe pull into, wrap up, try to figure out what this all means. You were talking about Calypso earlier. I think it could certainly be related to that. If nothing else, Calypso could just be, Zora having a little flight of fantasy while she's waiting out there. So, I don't know. But yeah, Arium, I think it was so good to see the character again, see which do we know? I didn't get to check the credits. Did we see which actress it was?
I think it was Arium too, wasn't it?
I thought so too. But even still, I mean, just the fact that they got to pay
It's
tribute to
Hannah.
that. Yeah.
Hannah Cheeseman.
Oh, good. Yeah. It just made so much sense. Calling back to even, grumpy Stamets from season 1, and and how, it was a lot easier to clear the room that way. That was a good moment. But really, yeah, I agree kind of with some of the discussion you've been having, where it's just kind of a continuation of this theme of connection and finding your purpose, finding your crew, changing for the better, hopefully. And, like you guys, I hope that's where we're on the path we're on with Raynor. When at the very end, she says, "We made a good team." And he says, "We got the job done." I think that, he's still sort of like putting up the front, but hopefully, that's kind of like
he's thawing though.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thawing.
Like he's not quite there yet, but he's not acting as I don't know, rude, I guess.
Brusque.
Yeah.
I do like pulling out a good SAT word.
Vocabulary word.
And I think maybe seeing Burnham the way she was, and the things that he said to her as well, you were like, you walked on this ship scared, and I know that because you told me, and that only happened a couple of weeks ago, but I see what you become, and you deserve it. You earn everything that you're going to get. I think it would be a real big shame if that turned out to be, a hollow sentiment. So hopefully we still continue to get growth and progress from Raynor.
I agree. I think that's it'll be interesting to see, and we only have 6 episodes left to see where that goes. So thanks, Alan, as always. Fantastic performance. I'm glad to throw a little bit of harmony in there. So
I appreciate it. Anything to help me keep on key. That's the idea.
That was fun. You've definitely you have your fans out there. Like Brett Guth says that let me remember this. What did you say about Alan's new album, The Tortured Captains Department? So we'll work on that.
Oh boy. Wow.
There you go. You got one sale.
Big shoes to fill.
There you go. All right, buddy. Thanks for calling
Alan.
in, and we will see you next time.
Have a good night, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Rounding out the show, we have Cherie. What's
Cherie.
happening, Cherie?
Hey. I missed the early part of the show, so I apologize if I repeat anything somebody else has already talked about. I missed Iron Man.
But you're talking about it. That's the most important thing. Right?
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to say I really liked this episode. It's still not my favorite episode of Discovery, but my favorite episode of Discovery is Music to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. So that's probably why I liked this episode. I like a time travel episode.
Yeah, and I feel like this was sort of I mean, they're still working on like the main storyline, but not aggressively. This felt almost like a bottle episode.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I like that kind of episode because I feel like those kind of episodes are actually the best character development moments because they're not so slavishly linked to the plot. And I think this was a very good way for them to develop Raynor's character. I still don't like him as much as I like Shaw. And I can't I wish I could remember when I started to like Shaw. I feel like though I might have sort of liked him right away, just in the fact that like it was kind of nice to see like I do love Picard and Riker, but just having someone be like, no, that's no, I'm not letting you do that. That's wild. Like, not just because you're like some old dudes that everybody
You
likes.
can't do whatever you want just because you're Jean-Luc Picard.
Imagine like this.
Exactly.
So
No, bro.
they literally walked into this dude's house and put their feet up on his table without even saying hello. You know, just like this, hey, you know, and Shaw's like, get out, right? Because it's what's up with that? I think Shaw is like, I think he's different because he's been so isolated in one train of thought, right? And that's to do this job. He's taking kind of like the nth degree of what the job description means, right? Without even looking at like, I don't care about your feelings. I want this thing to be done, right? And we've seen, you know, there in pop culture, we've seen this kind of archetype before. And I said earlier on in the show that I've worked with guys like that before. It's like, if you work just as hard as I do, that means we're going to get 10 times the work done. Right. But what about this? It's like, well, no, there is no other this. There's this or there's failure. So what do you want to do? And I think that Rainer's like, I'm seeing this team outside of me work together well. Maybe there's something here. I don't know. But it seems nice. And it's, you know, now I got people to talk to.
Yeah. I feel like for me, the problem with me not liking Raynor as much as I liked Shaw kind of, I felt like a little bit faster is I feel like a lot of what Shaw was doing was trying to keep his crew alive. And Raynor's all about the mission. So it's kind of a little bit more cold and objective than I'm just trying to keep you all alive.
Yeah, it's also style too. Like I thought that Raynor's bit with Reese at the end, like trying to connect with him, I thought that was like, again, like what Holly said, the thawing of some of his personality, I thought was nice. I don't think that there was a big turning point per se, but we're seeing more than just the mission.
I think there was a big turning point at the end when he was when he's on the bridge and he congratulates Reese.
It's a turning point,
I'll give him,
but not a big turning point.
He's a bit more thought in this episode, and it did help develop his character. I'm still not as much a fan of him as I was of Shaw, but we'll see. I'm willing to give him some more time. And I like the episode.
You know who else I think that this episode did a good job at sort of showing us just how dangerous they are without them actually really being around was Maul and Locke.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, the first few episodes are they, I mean, even when we were talking about, oh my God, what is the android's name?
Arian?
No, the one that they killed.
Oh, Fred.
Fred. Oh my, why was I thinking Jack? Wow.
I love Fred.
Yeah, Jack. So Fred is
nice job, Holly. You brought up Fred to Shireen.
I know, Fred. So, but we talked about how that felt sort of unearned because like he's been around for, you know, centuries, and like he's clearly in an area of work that is dangerous, and how could he be taken out by these two who don't seem terribly dangerous? But I mean, that the time bug that's pretty bad. And then the whole entry point where, you know, where we see them kill the guy poison him with the latinum.
I will say that I feel like the whole fact that it was a time bug was like a red herring, because you know, when I first put it on, I'm like, it's a bug, it's a wiretap, duh. And then when it came out as an actual bug, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that is so on the nose, because I thought it was just a bug, like just like they just bugged it. And I'm like, and you made it a bug? Seriously?
Like
an actual spider.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a bit too on the nose for me. And then it ended up being something else, and I was like, oh, that's actually kind of clever. Like, you made us think it was one thing, and you made it super obnoxiously obvious to make us think it was that one thing, and then it's something else entirely.
Yeah, it's a good misdirect for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, again, clearly Maul and Locke are I mean, I'm starting to get to a point where I'm like, oh, this actually feels like they know exactly what they're doing and they've been doing this for a long time. I'm really curious as to what like their reason to want to get this tech seems really, really personal though. So I'm curious as to their motivation, but I'm starting to believe that they are as dangerous as they've been perceived so far.
I still want to see some more things where they actually like earn it, but I did like the little thing at the beginning where they like poisoned that guy with the latinum. I was like, okay, that is like more clever than just I'm just gonna hit you like in like when they killed Fred. Like,
Yeah.
we're just good at beating people up, and I'm like, that's like anyone. But yeah, that actually required some thought and some like
Planning.
diabolicalness. So yeah, that was a little bit more impressive than just fighting people and killing my favorite android.
Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to kind of like hear the theories to the end game of the progenitors technology. I mean, so we see that Maul and La'ak are on the run. They have bounties on their heads. You know, they were whatever happened to them with the Orion slavers. It's very well possible, then it's very Star Trekky that they might want to use this technology to basically make everyone equal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's kind of like the equalization, the homogenization of all races, so that there's no power.
Kind of reminds me of like the X-Men movie.
Kind of, yeah, yep, kind of, yeah. We got about a little bit of time left for one more thought, Sherry, and then we're gonna have to let you go.
I was going to say, I heard a little bit of talk of the Calypso. I also think that I think it was referencing Calypso, and I think it's basically saying that Calypso is like the bad timeline. Like it's just kind of an alternate timeline. So Calypso
it's an
is
alternate
like,
timeline to them not succeeding at their mission.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's now what I think Calypso is, and I'm perfectly happy with that because I don't like super sad things, but I do love Calypso. I thought it was like a beautiful story, but I don't want it to actually be because like the whole crew died and she's just out there.
Yeah,
seems really depressing. So yeah.
All righty. Well, those are great thoughts. Thank you for calling in, Sherry. As always great to see you. I promise that whenever I'm hosting a show, I would never bring up Fred's name while you're here. I can't make that same promise for Holly or John.
God, I even insulted her by forgetting his name. Why was I thinking Jack? God.
I don't know.
Rude.
Well, thank you very much.
All right. See you, Sherry. Thanks for calling in.
Bye.
See you next time. Bye. It's pretty crazy how fast an episode of live show goes, especially, I mean, when you have Armin and Kitty here, which was great.
Yeah.
That's really all I have for the show. I mean, everyone talked about so many different topics. I don't really have anything left. Let me see if there's any more pop culture that I found. I don't think so. Oh, you know what I wanted to say? I didn't, I always felt that the Chronoton stabilizer segment of this episode was kind of like what they did in Star Trek Prodigy's Time Amok, where they were in the long circles of time and the short circles of time, and they kept passing on like building the Chronoton stabilizer all the way to Rock, who was in the furthest, dimension of time.
Yes.
So I thought that was kind of neat. But I do got to say, like, I got to get it up to Anthony Rapp because Stamets just killed it in this episode. He was so good. Yeah.
And he had a scene in the last episode that I was like, ugh. I wasn't terribly impressed. He did a fantastic job in this episode. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a lot of fun. It was good to see him flex a little bit more of his acting skills. So he was great. Book hit the gym, obviously pretty hard before his scene. So obviously, good to see that in our superhero build. Speaking of superheroes, I also thought that Burnham versus Burnham reminded me a lot of Captain America versus Captain America in Endgame. I thought it was kind of neat.
Without the butt comment?
Yeah, without the butt comment. I was waiting to see if they were actually going to throw that in there somehow. But yeah, that is a wrap for episode 4. So any last parting thoughts or gifts?
No, I'm good. We went over everything that I had written down in my weird notes.
All right, so here we go. Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Technical production on Mission Log and Mission Log Live done by the illustrious Earl Green. Be sure to visit podcasts.roddenberry.com for the latest from Roddenberry Podcast. If you would like to support Mission Log directly, give us a look at patreon.com/missionlog. Thanks to everyone who joined us live or later. Thanks again to Armin Shimmerman and Kitty Swink and for talking about their specific cause that's happening this weekend with pancreatic cancer awareness. And thanks, Holly, for being my co-pilot again this week. We look forward to seeing you all next week.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.